I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on the Spotlight Network, we're shining a light on an important topic with Dan Granger, author of Why Is Sam So Sad? Seasonal Affective Disorder and Depression from a Child's Perspective. This heartfelt and insightful book explains SAD through the eyes of a child, offering hope and understanding for families facing this challenge. Stick around as we uncover Dan's personal journey with SAD and how his expertise as an educator shapes his message of resilience and action. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him in the spotlight today. We ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his amazing book. The links are below this interview. Dan, great to see you here today on Spotlight. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
You know, the music this time of year, it's the most wonderful time of the year. Except the sun starts setting at like 4 o'clock in some places, and it's gray for so many months. It might be gray depending on where you live from now all the way through next May or the beginning of June. So this is a season that has affected you greatly, right?
Immensely, yes. I've actually had seasonal affective disorder, which we'll talk about well, ever since I can remember as a child, and I've grown up with it. And so it's affected me, and so I wrote a book about it. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later too.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about how it affects you. I think we're all affected from one degree or another once it gets gray and dark and, not so pretty out, not so bright. I think it's like why a lot of people fly south to get some sun. But for other people, it's even more severe, right?
Yeah, I agree. So for me, it's a form of depression, and it only comes around during the winter months, the fall and the winter months when it gets darker, and when the days get longer and it gets darker faster. Like you said, at 4 o'clock, at 4 o'clock it looks like it's 9 o'clock, and then all of a sudden at like 7 o'clock, it looks like it's midnight, and so it's really hard for the body to take that in. And so for me, I know it provides like loneliness, and I don't want to say provides, but it gives me like loneliness and depression and hopelessness and things like that. And my whole life I've had to struggle with it. And during
What do you
COVID,
do to
oh, I'm
combat it?
sorry.
I was going to say, what do you do to combat it?
Well, I basically what you want to do is just get out of the house and not hibernate, because if you move
Mhm.
around, and obviously exercise is great for so many things, but that for sure, you definitely want to socialize, even though this loneliness tells you stay inside. Stay inside and don't do that. The two big things that I would recommend is bright light therapy, which the person who coined the term, which is Norman E. Rosenthal in 1985, he coined the term of seasonal affective disorder, written many books about it, actually 14 now. And so he says that bright light therapy is the best thing to do. I actually have some lights. I can show you one really quick. I don't know if you can see that. And then it turns on. It's kind of mine is about the size of an iPad, and I can change the colors too.
It's
Change the
cool.
brightness, change the colors. See?
It's almost like our
And then,
studio lights.
yeah, and then I
Yeah.
have another one that's a sunrise clock. I'll show you that too. So these are things that help me wake up to the sun.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. Wake up to, I want to say it's working. Maybe it's not.
That helps your
Sure.
circadian rhythms, makes you
Yeah,
feel
I'm not going to
like
worry about that.
you're more in touch with nature. And these days when the sunlight is short, it is a good idea. Get up when the sun is rising because you're not going to have it that long. So I think those are all great suggestions, the light therapy, the sunrise clock, getting out and doing something, exercising, keeping moving. Like you said, your impulse is to hibernate and stay inside. It's cold, it's gray, it's wet. I don't want to go out. But get out there and enjoy life, and you'll feel less sad.
Right. The other thing, of course, is what is it? Cognitive behavioral therapy works, that you have you want to get the therapy and thinking, not and get rid of those negative thoughts. The over everybody's going to be, like today is going to be a horrible day, and you need to combat that thought. Or, well, things didn't work today, so they'll never work tomorrow, kind of things like that. And you want to go against those ants, those those automatic negative thoughts that are in your head. And that's usually what keeps me up. That was the worst thing that I had, is not really insomnia per se, but definitely went to bed probably like 1 or 2 hours later than I should have. Probably maybe, yeah, I'd say 2 to 3.
And
And
once
that,
your
and that
sleep
was
gets
that was as a
disturbed,
child.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. When your sleep gets disturbed, you feel not so great. So it's a good idea to try to use those CBT techniques that you mentioned. Absolutely. Let's talk about your book a little bit. Why is
sure.
Sam so sad? Tell us about what we'll find when we open the covers of this book.
Sure. So Sam is there's
And
Sam.
there he
And
is on
he's
your hat.
sometimes, yeah, so sometimes Sam's happy and sometimes he's sad. And then I also got him on my shirt too. See
There we
that?
go. That's
There we
awesome. I
go.
love your Sam gear.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So here's my book, Why is
Mhm.
Sam So Sad? And the very first part I talked about, well, actually, I don't want to be sad. Hang on a second. I'm doing a Logan Crawford interview. I should be happy.
Exactly. You want to be very
All right.
happy. Get
There
that
we go.
happy hat on for sure.
That's right. Okay. So sometimes he's sad and sometimes he's happy, but the very beginning, first part I got is, hang on a second, not that one. One sec. There we go. Okay, can you all see
Yep,
that? Okay,
absolutely.
so right there, that's sometimes Sam feels happy, sometimes he feels sad. And this is talking about when Sam is energized, he's happy. And this is
Mhm.
when he's sad, there's all gray and kind of mopey, and you can barely tell that there's even color to that.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's kind of, I wrote this book when I came during COVID, and I had a really, really, really dark time. I didn't have a purpose in life, and I was in a factory staring at a wall doing my thing, and many thoughts came to me, including ending my life. And two things brought me out of that. One is my best friend needed a kidney, and so I thought, where I plan to go, I'm not going to need that kidney. So I went on a kidney journey, which normally should have taken 6 months, end of story. Mine took a year and a half. I do not have, I have both my kidneys. I didn't give it to him. He does have a kidney. Everything's good in that, Claire. But I had to apparently go on that journey to get me out of my depression. The other thing was, I wrote this book because I thought other people might be going through this. And as a teacher, I ended up writing it as a kid's book. And it's amazing how far this book has come from the people that I've talked to, as far as those that were grieving. I've been able to give this book to them. As far as preschooler understood this book, a friend of mine, like I just showed you that part right there, he told me, my friend told me, his son is like, yeah, Dad, today I didn't feel energized. And then another day he's like, yeah, Dad, I was charged like Sam. And I'm like, I heard that. I was like, oh my gosh, you just put it to my heart. That was so cool. Like
Yeah.
my story affected you, and my stories affected not only like preschoolers, but all the way up to, uh, the elderly. A bunch of different people have read this book, and its book is, currently in Canada and overseas and all kinds of different places. Uh, it's on what is it, a bestsellers bookshelf in Canada. It's what's the other one? Oh yeah, it's 25 5-star review. All of what it's beyond my wildest dreams. And then now to be here is incredible.
Well, we're
So
glad you're
yeah,
here
that's
spreading
why
the
I,
message. It's been a great journey for you, obviously, from your darkest hours to a real bright spot in your life where you're helping others. And I think that's what you found in your journey when you wanted to give your kidney to a friend, was that living for others really energizes you, which is why I think you found a lot of energy in this book, right?
yeah, actually I put another book on hold. This was like, I was driven to write this book. I was almost done with the other book, and I wrote this book, and it was like I was called to write this book, and it just is. It's been a journey and a half, and a fun journey, and just all the people I've met and helped, and it's just incredible. I can't even fathom how I what's happened with this book.
Amazing. Now, your book, of course, is available on Amazon and other bookseller sites. What about your gear? That t-shirt you have is awesome. The hat you have is awesome. Can you buy that yet?
No, it's one of a kind. I don't know how much I'd be able to make
Right,
uh make it mass produce or anything like that. A
right.
friend of mine makes them at
Okay.
Createes, and I met him while working in the factory, believe it or not. Just one of those things that, things happened, and yeah, he was able to
Very
help me
cool.
the hat and that. And so
Well, if the book takes off, I'd imagine Sam Gear is coming. So that's your prototype. So hang on to it, which is great, without a doubt. Have you envisioned Why Is Sam So Sad, perhaps as a film?
uh I don't really know about a film.
Like a
I would
video for
love to
kids to
have some.
watch. I think it'd be a
Yeah,
good companion to the book,
I
right?
could see something like that. I would be more than willing to, talk about that. I mean, because I mean, all the different experiences you have when you're dealing with sad. I mean, it doesn't stop at one point. So you take
Yeah.
it with you, whether it's, going to out to eat, you could be, and that's something too. Like when you're sad, most people don't. Some people eat, some people overeat. When you're sad, you're going through sad, you hibernate like bears. So you want to think about like a bear would oversleep, overeat, eat comfort foods,
Mm.
and then to kind of be miserable and not wake up for if it's the weekend, especially you
Yeah.
totally don't wake up until maybe, like I said in the book, like Sam didn't even sleep, or he slept past his bed, or he past his lunchtime.
Right.
The good thing about sad is you have to have with sad is you have to have an obligation to get up and do what you need to do. Like if I didn't have school, then that day was pretty much shot. But when I did have school, yes, I needed to get up because there's an obligation. So as long as you can set obligations for yourself to do you and meet those obligations, it's more doable
Yeah.
as far as like this depression comes along. And then it's
Absolutely.
worse. I'm sorry, it's worse during the peak is between like January and February.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. I think you're right on. Have an obligation, have a purpose, have something that you need to do. Have a reason to get up in the morning, have a reason to go to bed at a reasonable time at night because you want the energy for the next day. I like your light therapy suggestions as well, that special clock also. And this
Yeah.
book is terrific because it'll explain to young people, children, and adults what SAD is all about. And for a lot of people, this might be the key to like, oh yeah. That's why I'm so unhappy in winter. And I think that's a great service you've done. And I think being in service is something you enjoy doing. Tell us about your career as an educator.
Uh, yeah, I was 15 years in education. I majority of what I did was preschool, but I had special ed, taught with special ed too. My first job ever was high school special ed, and I don't have a high school degree. And it didn't last long, but I found my niche in preschool,
Mhm.
being very animated and caring and all kinds of stuff. And the kids reacted to that. And I think my favorite time was actually story time and just reading the stories to them, and how much joy I could bring to them for that. And yeah, and how much joy they brought to me, because just seeing a child create something, do something they've never done before. I know I remember probably one of my happiest things and um, happiest moments is that I pretty much taught almost all my kids to ride a bike. We had trikes that were convertible, and they could make two wheels. So they were two-wheel bikes, but they were the same size as a trike. And I was able to get them from a company, like gave me some money and said, "Hey, we're willing to give you some money." I'm like, "Okay, cool. Like, what would I need?" And I was looking into this, and yeah, so some of the kids were riding trikes and some of the kids were riding bikes. And I told them, instead of the words pedal, 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 which they don't understand, I said, "Put your feet on here and run as fast as you can." and run, 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 run. And like 90% of my kids were able to, actually bike, and I can still see that memory.
So that's a great memory. You absolutely love having a purpose-driven life. I can tell you that that's when you're the most happiest. And
Very
this
true.
book is a wonderful gift to all of us. It is called Why Is Sam So Sad? Seasonal Affective Disorder and Depression from a Child's Perspective. It is a heartfelt and insightful book that explains sad through the eyes of a child, offering hope and understanding for families facing this challenge. Dan, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure's been all mine. I appreciate your wisdom and your insight. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time, this time, until next time on the Spotlight
Take
Network.
care. Sam and I
There-
wish you the best.
And there's the book. Remember to smile today, no matter how gloomy it is outside.
Very true. Very true. Can I just close with what I would say if I signed off for when I would
Sure,
sign a book? All
sure.
right. Sam, in the very last page, Sam practices gratitude, and according to Tony Robbins, you can't be grateful and happy, or can't be grateful and fearful, or grateful and mad at the same time, because grateful is such a stronger emotion. So we need to practice gratitude. And so in the last page, he has a list of gratitude, and I would sign him off and say, Sam and I wish you much happiness and success as you create your list of gratitude. All the best.
All the best. And I'm grateful for you joining us today.